Hi guys, it's Donna with Love Rocks, and we have got a new video this week. It is for the 4th of July. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe and you leave a comment under this video, you'll be in the free drawing for this rock. So let's get started. This is a really fun rock. It's a quick rock, and it's one that you can mass produce and you can use for hiding rocks. So I found a rock that was relatively flat. I mean, all rocks are going to have some divots in it, but this was relatively flat, so it was easy to use. And I covered the whole thing in ink spot blue. Now, you could use any blue that you like. That is the blue that I have, and it's the closest thing to kind of a true blue that I like to use. So please use what you've got and get that thing covered with blue. Now, I will tell you, we're going to put a lot of layers on this rock. So it is imperative, no matter how much of a rush you're in, that you take the time to let them dry in between. Because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of colors are going to mix together. So my suggestion to you is to get 5 or 6 rocks, paint them all blue, let them set for 10 or 15 minutes, and then start going through them. And as you're going through with each color, you should have enough time for each one to dry before you get to the next color. So what we're going to do is we're going to start over on the edge, and we're going to put in some white petals. Super simple. I had a fat brush. I was trying to find the easiest way to show you guys how to do this. I used a fat brush to start out with, but it didn't quite give me the shape that I wanted. So I wound up going back in with my lining brush and adding the shape that I wanted. With the rest of the leaves, that's what I'm going to do is my lining brush, and then I'll go back in with a small detail brush and fill in the areas. So you're going to put in your white leaves. Once you get those, I guess they're petals, I'm sorry, not leaves, but once you get those petals in, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a gray and kind of put an edge on them. That gives me just a little more definition and kind of a little bit of shading on those leaves, because you don't want just a straight white petal. You want a little bit of accent to it. So I went back in and I mixed up a little bit of gray, just some black and white, and we're going to go along the edges with it, and we're going to put a little bit of a crease in the middle with that gray. I used my lining brush for this. It's super fast and easy. You'll see that I kind of overshot the petals a little bit with the gray. You can always go back with your ink spot blue and touch that up later, which I do that off camera. So you will see that I have that all touched up. And then we're going to put a little bit of shading right down the middle of that petal, just to give it a look of, that there's a little bit of a crease there. Again, you don't have to be really, really, really particular. This thing, it'll turn out regardless of the way that, how much time you put into putting those lines in. Just make sure that you get those outer edges with that lining brush. Now, I did go back in, and any place that I made a little bit of a mistake or got too much gray, I went back in with white and was able to kind of clean up those edges. Now, once you get those edges in between each of those white petals, you're going to put a red petal. I told you, this is one of the easier rocks that I've done, but it turns out so pretty. And let me tell you, you set this rock down on a park bench, you set this rock down in a parking lot or at a rest area, people are going to see it and they're going to love it. So you're going to go into each one, in between each one of those white ones, you're going to put in a red petal. And you're going to fill that in with red. And like I said, I did use my my lining brush and then went back in with a smaller detail brush because that heavier brush just didn't work for me. It didn't give me the shape I wanted. And I'm just going to fix each one of those, fill them in. Now, again, this is why it's so important to have each layer dry in between. Because you can see we have already put 3 layers of color. If you don't count the shading and the highlights that we've done, we've already put 3 layers of color on this picture. So, and we're going to put more. So you've got to let that dry in between. Once you get those petals in, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to do a little bit of highlighting, which all I did was the red and a little bit of white mixed together, just to add a little bit of highlighting on a couple of those petals. Just kind of gives it, I don't know, a little bit of distinction, so it's just not a flat colored paint. You know, you've got some different colors there. And pretty much with the rest of this, I used mostly the highlighting or the lining brush to get into those areas. So there's the highlighting and a little bit down the middle of each of those leaves. It didn't quite give it the depth I wanted, so I did go ahead and go back in. And I'm going to add some black and I'm going to add some white to the edges of those leaves. I just don't want to walk away and have petals that are just one color. And so I will tell you, as I was doing this, I was kind of making it up as I go. I would put a color on, and if it didn't quite suit what I wanted, I'd put a little more of something else. And if that didn't quite suit what I liked, I'd add a little bit more. So take a step back and look at it and see what you think. I really wanted to add a little more color to this, so or a little more depth to it, so I put the white on it. Just to give it a little more character. And I know it doesn't look like much right now, but please stick with it. I'm telling you, the process is going to be amazing when you get to the end. So now we're going to put a couple of smaller white petals right towards the middle. And I know those white petals are they're blending in with the white behind it. You can see right there, I did not let that dry long enough. And that's what happens right there. So go back in, I touch that petal up a little bit, hoping to cover up that red that I pulled from the red below, just to kind of clean that up. And then I took some gray and went around the edges of those white petals. Again, to give it just a little bit of shading and a little bit of character there. Really having a hard time with that petal right there, trying to keep that from bleeding through. So this is the part that really shows you have to let this stuff dry in between. went back, I added a little, very, very thin little line of black just to spruce it up a little bit. I let it dry, and now you can see I added some more white. I kept adding to it until I got those petals looking the way I wanted them. I just really wanted to give it a lot more difference in colors there. Okay, now we're going to do the center. I just used one of my bottles. Everything's dry. Marked around it with my pencil. You can see that circle. Now we're going to go into that and we're going to put the dark blue. And you're going to fill that entire thing up with the dark blue. Now let's see, let's count. We are on 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th layer of paint on that edge of the rock. So very important that we get that completely dry. So we're going to add that navy blue, which the one I'm using is ink spot blue. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that blue, put a little bit of white on it, and just do some little circular motions around it. Again, it's just giving it the feeling of some different colors, some depth. Now once that's done, I kind of went over it a couple of times because I had a little too much of the light, so I put in some more dark, had a little too much dark, put in some more light. As you're painting, you're going to get an idea of what's missing. Like you're going to look at it and you're going to understand that you need more light, you need more dark, whatever it is that you feel like you need. And then I'm going to put in the dots. Now, if you would rather put little teeny tiny stars in there, you can do that. But this is a small surface and I wasn't sure that I could make them all uniform. So I went ahead and just did some dots. And then I got my white pen, my acrylic pen, and started to do the writing on this rock. Now, I don't know what's going on with this pen. It's a brand new pen. I think I've used it once since I bought it. I was able to get it to write the original lettering on it, but I was having trouble filling it in. So off of camera, to go back and make it a little darker, I just took my lining brush and some thinned white paint and went over all of the lettering that I had put in. I also realized that I messed up and I put Happy 4th July. So you'll see that the end of this, I did add of, so it'll say Happy 4th of July. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it until I was already starting to spray it. So here it is, guys. That was quick, super cute, fun one to do. I hope you enjoy this, and please, please come back again.